RJ Barrett brought his late season Raptors form into the Olympics in Team Canada's opener against Greece, but the big question about his game is, can he sustain these levels into next season for the Raptors? Let's get into it. Team Canada's men's basketball program is featuring at the Olympics for the first time in 24 years. Yes, it was 2000, the last time Team Canada participated in the men's basketball event, in an event where RJ Barrett's father was one of the players on the roster. Now, RJ Barrett is representing Canada, and he did so in great fashion in their opener against Greece. Was one of Canada's top performers alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he was really showcasing a lot of those insane levels that he was showing in the late stages of the season with the Toronto Raptors, or rather his entire season with the Raptors. Near the halfway point of the season, he was traded away from the New York Knicks in the OG Anunoby trade, and he looked like a completely different player when he joined the Raptors compared to what he was doing with the New York Knicks. And I was always wondering, like, look, some of the numbers, some of these statistics, some of these levels RJ Barrett is producing, he can't keep doing it at this level. This is so good. He can't maintain this. But how close to this can we be on a regular basis? That's what we want to figure out over the course of the video. And if that first game against Greece is any indication of where RJ Barrett is at from a basketballing standpoint at the moment, it's looking very promising for the Raptors. Let's break it all down today on Amateur Sports, the YouTube channel completely dedicated to Toronto Raptors coverage and videos just like this, as well as live streams. And hey, I'm adding in some Team Canada men's basketball coverage along the way and doing some watch parties that you should be checking out. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoy this video and subscribe for more coverage. So, RJ Barrett in that first game against Greece looked fantastic all throughout. There were definitely some moments for Shai. Shai was the clutch performer and had the best highlights from the game, but on a consistent basis throughout the game, I feel as though RJ Barrett was one of the most reliable options, or perhaps the most reliable option at team head coach Jordi Fernandez's disposal. RJ Barrett went off for 23 points in this one, but was also impressive in other ways with the efficiency that he brought to proceedings. 8 of 13 from the field, and like, looking at these numbers, it's impressive, but like, honestly, it just should not come to any surprise for Raptors fans for the way he was playing last season. I mean, he took his game to a complete other stratosphere. I said another level. It was in a different stratosphere compared to what he was doing in his New York days. He jumped up from 18 points per game in the early part of the season with the Knicks to 22 points per game in his time with the Raptors. But it wasn't the points per game that was the most significant part of RJ Barrett's ascent with the Raptors. Everything about his game got better, but his efficiency, which was questionable at best in his time with New York and made me question his appearance in the trade. It didn't make me question his appearance in the trade, but it made me question RJ Barrett's perceived value. But a lot of those questions have been answered and have made me look rather foolish, because we see the assist numbers climb from 2.4 to 4.1. The rebounds went from 4.3 to 6.4. But just look at the efficiency here. The big questions about his game came from his two-point percentage, which in this recent season, in his time with the Knicks, it replicated what he did for a lot of his career. It left a lot to be desired, right around 47% on his two-point percentage. It went all the way up to above 60% with the Raptors. His three-point percentage had been up and down with the Knicks, not super consistent. It went from 33 to nearly 40% with the Raptors, which gave him an effective field goal percentage over 60%. Even the biggest RJ Barrett believers, even the people who thought the highest of RJ Barrett, could not have foreseen numbers that look like this in a good sample size as well. 32 games with the Raptors, who for a lot of his time with the team were tanking, weren't really trying to win games, weren't a very good team, which maybe makes these numbers even more impressive. But beyond the numbers, what RJ Barrett did in that first game for Team Canada and did on a consistent basis for the Raptors is this guy just knows how to score. He knows how to get into the paint. He knows how to get to his spots. And when he does get there, he finishes with aggression and he finishes with authority. Even if most of the time that comes with his left hand rather than his right hand. He has been known to be somebody who's pretty left hand dominant. Even with that in mind, he is just a wrecking ball who gets into his spots and gets buckets, especially when your team needs it. A lot of time when Team Canada were asking for somebody to step up and maybe a dry spell, get them a big bucket, it was RJ Barrett on so many different occasions who was the player who stepped up and got that done. But alongside of that, getting in the paint, getting to his spots at will seemingly, he adds on a good three-point game as well. Did that with the Raptors, as we saw with those numbers, as we saw with those statistics. So when I see these numbers, what he did with the Raptors in those 32 games to finish the season, when I see those numbers, I really question to myself, how much of this, once again, is sustainable? How much of this can he continue to replicate for next season? Because, some players have had those big spurts, but weren't able to sustain those for longer periods of times on a season-to-season basis. Because this is really half of a season. Not even quite. It's 32 games. Not even quite half a season where he did this for the Raptors. Well, if that first game against Greece is any indication of where RJ Barrett's head is at, as I said, it's very promising for what he can do for the Raptors next season. So it's not going to be if he can keep this up. Like, honestly, if I am the biggest believer in his game, I expect the absolute most out of him. I don't think you can realistically suggest he is going to continue to score above 60% on twos and nearly 40% from three. But that's okay. RJ Barrett can be at least somewhat close to these numbers and still be playing at an extraordinary level for the Raptors. And even we can knock down the field goal percentage, the 2-point percentage can knock down to the mid 50s. We can take off a ton of points off that. We can knock that 3-point percentage down from 39 to 36, and you still have RJ Barrett operating at an incredible level, especially considering his age. What's pretty crazy, RJ Barrett's been around for so long, he's been in the league for so long. He's only just turned 24 years old. And I think that's something that people forget. That's something that certainly I forget a lot of times. Just because he's been in the league a long time doesn't mean he's still not a young and ascending player at 24 years old. How about this for a crazy stat? RJ Barrett, 24 years old, is actually younger than Andrew Nembhard, who just got another contract with the Indiana Pacers after getting drafted in the second round just a couple of seasons ago. It's pretty crazy to think about things like that, whereas, yes, they have more experience. Yes, they've been in the league a longer period of time, but he just entered the league at such a young age because he was such a good player at that age. So looking at the comparison of these statistics, RJ Barrett from his New York days to his Raptors days, what has changed? There was such a sharp change to the numbers of what RJ Barrett provided to the Raptors compared to what he did for the Knicks. And granted, you can talk about the New York Knicks being a different team and a better team where RJ Barrett's playing a different role, but RJ Barrett was there through the bad times in New York as well, where he was getting a lot of touches, where he was afforded a lot of opportunities on a not-so-great Knicks team, and still wasn't producing anywhere near this level. I think what it is, ultimately, in the early stage with the Knicks, young players can struggle with efficiency. A player as young as RJ Barrett was when he entered the league. As the Knicks got better, his role diminished. Wasn't a player who could really express himself. Was confined to a specific role that the New York Knicks were looking for. Came to the Raptors where they allowed him to spread his wings and be RJ Barrett. And my goodness, are the Raptors reaping the rewards of this? Because the trade, when it happened, OG Anunoby to the Knicks, my thought process was this is a trade that gets you Emmanuel quickly. RJ Barrett's just a bonus. I wouldn't expect the world out of him. He's just a bonus in this deal. Well, clearly in that second half of the season, Emmanuel quickly was great and earned himself the big extension with the Raptors. But RJ Barrett was even better when he was on the floor. And he can continue to improve, and he can continue to get better, and he's continuing to bring his excellent levels of play that we saw last season with the Raptors into the Olympics, and I'm so excited to see if he can maintain the pace that he started with that opening game against Greece in the next couple of games in the group stage, and hopefully on a long and lengthy run at the tournament to get Canada into a medaling position, because that would be absolutely historic for himself. 24 years in the making after his father participated for Team Canada's men's basketball team at the 2000 Olympics. But what a historic run that would be for Team Canada, who already made history at the FIBA World Cup just a year ago when they finished in third, beating the US of A in the bronze medal game, the third place game. RJ Barrett's ascent potentially is just getting started here. Not saying success needs to be linear here, because he could still take a little bit of a tick down next season and still be at an incredibly insane level of production for the Raptors. My opinions on RJ Barrett have changed drastically in the last 6, 7, 8 months. And I cannot wait to continue to be proven wrong in my assessment of player as he continues to grow and develop And I'm so happy that he's with the Toronto Raptors. So what do you make of RJ Barrett's ascent, and what do you make of his chances with Team Canada at the Olympics? Give me all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. That's all for me for today. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel for more Raptors content, and I will see you again next time for another video.